a Friday. We'll find out if Tiki Barber's going to buy the New York Football Giants a little bit later on. Plus, we have reasons. They may surprise you, but reasons why Matthew Stafford may indeed want to play for the New York Giants. And we finally get the age-old question. Would Mike Breen ever issue a triple bang? It's all coming up on a very busy Evan and Tiki. But let me set the stage with this Marcus Stroman situation. I want to give everybody the news in case you've missed it throughout the day. And then we will decide, Tiki and I, Tiki with the perspective of a former professional athlete, me not being a former professional athlete, our opinions on the matter. But I think it's important to know what's going on before everybody's got their strong, crazy opinions on Marcus Stroman. So Marcus Stroman was not there yesterday. That was not against any kinds of rules because the mandatory reporting date is on February 22nd. So Aaron Boone was asked about it, and it was a thing. Hey, where's Marcus Stroman? Is he protesting the fact that he's likely not in the rotation? Well, today, Marcus Stroman showed up. And so one of the first things he needed to address was, hey, how come you weren't here yesterday, but you're here today? Let's hear from Marcus Stroman.
I mean, at this stage of my career, I put a priority on obviously getting my body ready. I don't think there was a need for me to be here in the last few days, given the climate. You know, I talked to Booney. We had a great conversation. Everything's honestly perfect and seamless. And my relationship with the guys in the clubhouse hasn't changed. So, yeah, I feel great to be back, and I'm ready to roll.
He also went on to talk about something I wasn't even aware of, and that's he lost one of his homes in Malibu during the fires in California.
Oh, that's terrible.
Which is terrible, and he's done a great job contributing to the state of California or for anyone who's lost their homes, and he recommends everyone else do the same, which 100% agree. So I think that answer kind of tells you why he wasn't here. Even again, he didn't break any rule. The day to be here is February 22nd. Then it morphs into, all right, can you be a reliever, Marcus? Because right now, you're not in the Yankee rotation.
Considering your pedigree, could you handle being a reliever?
I'm a starter.
So right now,
I'm a starter.
You're the sixth starter, so how do you handle that?
See how it plays out. I'm a starter.
You do not want to pitch in the bullpen?
I won't pitch in the bullpen. I'm a starter.
I'm a starter is totally fine.
Yeah.
I won't pitch in the bullpen. We'll get to that in a minute.
He also said, we'll see how this plays out.
Right, which is a great answer because a lot can play out. A follow-up, and it's so funny that this follow-up occurred. I appreciate the reporters who asked this because Tiki asked this exact same question to me before the show when I was talking to him about the Stroman spot. He's like, what about the playoffs? Wasn't he, pitching or scheduled to pitch out of the bullpen in the playoffs? Well, Marcus was asked, well, what about last year? You pitched out of the bullpen in the playoffs.
Did it bother you that you were in the bullpen in the postseason?
No. I'm just talking about being a starter this role. Not at all. Those playoffs, there's different roles. That calls for different, for you to be in different circumstances. I was completely fine with that. But overall, I'm a starter. I've been doing this 10-plus years. And like I said, not many people do it at that level or can stay healthy at the level that I do to go out there and give 30-plus starts that I do pretty routinely.
The follow-up then is, all right, well, you're not scheduled to be a starter right now because there are 5 guys ahead of you. Do you still want to be a New York Yankee knowing those circumstances?
Mark, how much do you want to remain a Yankee? You know what it's like to switch teams, and it gets a little awkward and it's tough.
I'm so grounded and calm, man. I truly flow through life with the grace now. It took a lot of work, but I'm good. I'm good wherever I may be. I love everybody in this clubhouse. Everybody knows that. You can ask my teammates the relationship I have with them. I think that's the best way to truly tell the character of a person is to go to the teammates and ask. I spend the most time with them inside that clubhouse. I spend the least time with people who are reporting on me right now, and that seems like a lot of the narrative and perspectives come from this group. So if you go in that clubhouse and ask anybody about me, like I said, feel free.
Now the other one is, are you sending any kind of message to Brian Cashman? You talk about wanting to be a starting pitcher. I'm not going to pitch out of the bullpen. Have you sent any kind of message to the general manager?
It's the end of spring, and you're not in rotation. Are you going to leave the team?
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't thought about tomorrow. So I'm just being the state that I'm in, the perspective that I live through. It's hard for me to even look past to a moment that there's so many unpredictables that can happen up until that point. I'm not someone who lives at that level of uncertainty. I'm very present and grounded, so I'm good.
When you say I'm a starter, though, it sounds like a message to Cass saying, if I'm not in a rotation, you better get rid of me because I'm not going to.
You think me saying I'm a starter is I'm a starter? That's like me making the most basic, brief statement. I'm a starter my entire career. Go look at the numbers. And how many people can stay healthy and do it 30-plus starts year after year after year, especially after being the one that they said could never do it at my size. I'm a starter.
We'll get to what Cashman had to say about this. That's pretty much what Marcus Stroman had to say today.
Yeah.
What's your impression?
Well, I can see why Aaron Boone said it was awkward yesterday. And it's not in an awkward way, meaning they can't talk to each other. And it's hard to look each other in the face and have a conversation. I don't think it's that. I think it's awkward because he's the sixth starter in a five-man rotation, meaning there's no room for him. Now, there is one thing he said in the middle of all of those clips that you played that I think is probably the most important thing that he said. He said, we'll see how it plays out, which is exactly what Aaron Boone said, and it's likely what Cashman, when we listen to him, will convey as well. There's so much that can go wrong. You said this over and over again, Evan. It's weird that he's not weird, but it's just the way it panned out. He's not in the top five right now. But anything can happen.
Yeah, and
guys are going to get hurt. Training camp or spring training is long, and they might need him. And if they need him or they need a sixth starter, the best one to have is him.
I would argue,
now.
outside of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have Clayton Kershaw, though he's going to start the year injured as like their seventh starter,
Yep.
I would argue the best option as a sixth starter, a swingman in the entire sport, is Marcus Stroman. Yeah, that's what I would actually argue, because let's not forget that most teams don't have a guy as their swing starter making $18 million with the accomplishments of Marcus Stroman.
When I think about the line of questioning that was thrown his way, it was almost as if they were waiting for him to say, I want to be a starter, and if I'm not a starter here, I want to be a starter someplace else.
Right.
And I give Marcus Stroman credit for not engaging in that, because he doesn't know how the next month is going to play out.
Right.
There's as good a chance as not that he could be a starter here to start the season.
Tiki, I'll make you this prediction on February 14th. I think he will be, because that's the way baseball is. Guys get hurt. It sucks. I hope nobody gets hurt, but guys get hurt. It's just the way it is.
Especially starting pitching.
Yeah, look at last year with Garrett Cole.
Right. It is, have you had Tommy John? And if not, it's when are you going to have Tommy John? Or when are you going to have a shoulder injury? And if not, when did you last have a shoulder injury? Injuries happen for starting pitching. There's a reason that teams need depth. And when you get into, these critical moments, it's the teams like the Dodgers who prepare for it because they obviously experienced it a year ago, somehow survived it and won a World Series. But it happens every year.
Yeah.
Teams lose chances to win because they don't have good enough depth in their starting rotation.
To me, there was only one issue I have with anything Marcus Stroman said. Him not being there yesterday, not a big deal. I think he explained it perfectly well, especially when you think of the real-world issues a lot of people have, like he lost his home in Malibu, or maybe he wants to spend a few extra days with his family. There's nothing wrong with that. That's number one. So to me, that's open and shut, and it's over. Number two, him declaring he's a starting pitcher. He is a starting pitcher. His entire career, he's been a starting pitcher. This man has made 252 career starts. He's a starter. I also question, and I don't want to question him on this, but maybe he'd actually agree with me, how effective he'd even be as a reliever.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he'd be.
If you've never done it, you don't know.
Right. So the I'm a starter thing, totally fine. Was there some humor to it? Because he said it 112 times in 10 seconds? Sure. I'm a starter, I'm a starter, I'm a starter. No problem with that. There is one thing, though, that he should have avoided.
Which is?
I won't pitch in the bullpen. Because even though I just said I'm not sure how good he'll be at it, and even Marcus may question that, and it's certainly something he doesn't want to do, especially with the vesting option. If he pitches 160 innings, he gets $18 million next year. This is a business, too.
Yeah.
Marcus Stroman wants the opportunity to pitch, not only because he's a starter, but because there's money on the line. I would have just avoided saying I won't do something.
Yeah.
Because, A, it may never even be a controversy because you may be needed to start. So there may never even be a scenario where you've got to go to the bullpen. And I think that opens up the question of, okay, he just said I won't pitch out of the bullpen. Well, what happens on March 27th if everybody is healthy?
Yeah.
So I think, to me, that's the only mistake he made.
He's pitching out of the bullpen. Like, what was the number? 160 innings he's got to pitch?
He's got to get to 160 for that option to vest. And by the way, Marcus Stroman hasn't pitched 160 innings in 4 years.
Right, since 2021.
Yes. With the Mets.
With the Mets, right.
Yes.
33 starts in that season.
He was great that year. He was a very good Met that year.
You're right. And so, look, I think I don't think he's doing anything wrong here. I think he is stating his desire to do what he's always done, which is to be a starting pitcher. Now, is there a chance here with the Yankees for that to happen? Absolutely. If they get through spring training completely healthy, and say even one of the, I don't know what the young arms are for the Yankees. Like, who is it? We're Warren? Like, whoever it is.
Right.
Maybe one of those guys is a surprise, and all of a sudden he feels expendable, meaning Marcus Stroman for the Yankees isn't as necessary as we've been making it out to be. Then maybe he does get traded, and he goes someplace, and he can be a starter. But I think for right now, he hasn't done anything wrong other than state the obvious.
What about the I won't pitch out of the bullpen?
I don't think he wants to pitch out of the bullpen, but if push came to shove, would he do it? I think he would.
Oh, what's his choice?
Well, I mean,
and what's the Yankees'
it's
choice?
One thing to say, I won't pitch out of the bullpen versus I'm not going to pitch out of the bullpen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if he's asked to do it once the regular season starts and he's a member of the New York Yankees, I expect that he would pitch out of the bullpen.
Right, because
it
creates an ugly situation. Like, it's a month and a half from now, and again, I don't think this situation's even going to occur because I think there's a lot of things before opening day. Mm-hmm. One scenario is a team trades for Marcus Stroman. I mean, $18 million is not a lot when you look at what starters are making. Look at the contract Frankie Montas signed.
Right.
I mean, if you look at reliability over the last 3 years and you compare Frankie Montas to Marcus Stroman, Marcus Stroman's been better despite his awful second half.
And look, people will start throwing out the ERA. It ballooned up to, not ballooned, but whatever. It bounced up to 4.3 this year. Has been under 4 for most of his career. But he always pitches. He's always out there.
He is a reasonably, I would say better than reasonable. He's a reliable starting pitcher. He doesn't make the 30 starts every year that he said, but he's had a lot of years where he's done it. Mm-hmm. I think the concern with Stroman, if he is in this rotation, is that for the last 2 years in Chicago and then last year with the Yankees, he's fallen off completely as the season went on. Right. Like, look at him last year. Yankee fans remember, in April and May, he was awesome. Like, he was tremendous. And then he was bad. Right. There's no way to define it. Like, he was not good the last few months of the season. But that's not even the point. The point is the Yankees could trade him before opening day. Mm-hmm. They could. You're telling me a team couldn't use Marcus Stroman at $18 million a year, considering the state of starting pitchers? And other teams may have injuries.
I don't feel like it's something to ruffle right now. Like, it is awkward. Boone is right. It's an awkward situation because of the interviews that you just heard him go through. You have to ask the question, and he's going to answer it like a confident, proud starting pitcher. But the reality is they might not need him as a starting pitcher, so it's just awkward. Right. But it doesn't mean that there's anything, I don't know, weird going on. There's nothing, you know what I mean? There's nothing controversial going on. This is a weird non-controversy, if you ask me, when I think about it. Because Marcus Stroman isn't saying, I'm protesting, I'm not pitching in spring training, I'm not doing anything until they guarantee that I'm a starting pitcher, and if not, trade me. He hasn't said any of that.
Right.
So this is not a controversy. This is I got to work my way to be in the top 5. It's not likely not going to happen, but that's sport. The last thing you want is to have non-competition at important positions. The Yankees, fortunately, have a lot of competition at their starting rotation.
Here's what Brian Cashman had to say. He met the media in the last hour, revealed some interesting things, including the fact that him and Hal are working on an extension for Aaron Boone. So for everybody out there that wants Aaron Boone fired, sorry, you're not going to get that to happen. He's not going to be gone at the end of this season. Sorry, you're not getting the blood that maybe you've been asking for on Sports Talk Radio for the last 4 years. But
he just went to the World Series.
No, I know that. Calm down. Here's what Brian Cashman had to say about the Marcus Stroman situation.
This morning, he also said, I'm a starter several times. He said he won't pitch in the bullpen. Where do you sit on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's vintage Stro. He's a competitor. I mean, he's fought his way through pro ball to being a hell of a starter for quite some time. So as a competitor, he is a starter. I agree with him. He is a starter. So let's just see how everything plays out. 6 weeks of spring training, thereabout, is typically a lot of twists and turns and winding roads before you get to opening day. So let's, we'll deal with opening day when we get there. We certainly hope everybody stays healthy and is pitching to their highest level. But I know that we have, a lot of quality pitching in camp, which is a good thing to start with. But how you start is usually not how you finish. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm excited that he's back in camp.
See, Cashman did the thing that's the truth. He punted the football.
Of course he
and
did.
said, talk to me on March 26th when we have 5 healthy starters and I have to have this horribly uncomfortable conversation with a proud starting pitcher and tell him you're not a starting pitcher. But a lot can happen in 6 weeks.
Of course it can. Look, the reality is he's likely going to be the odd man out. But we don't know that's not a guarantee. He may be frustrated by that. But I kind of suspect just the way he sounded just now, Marcus Stroman, not Cashman. It's almost like even if it does happen, he'll be a good team player.
Well, let's play a little game. Let's have a little fun with this because it is February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. When we're sitting here getting ready for the start of the baseball season, all pumped up. It's Yankees opening day. It's Yankee Stadium. Hopefully Garrett Cole's healthy and he's pitching opening day. What will be of the Marcus Stroman situation?
Well, here's the thing.
You have a few options.
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead. So is one thing he said. I'm just going to take him at his word. I don't know Marcus Stroman.
Yeah.
I don't remember him as in Chicago because we weren't following him. I don't know what his mindset was like. I don't know what he was saying to the media. I kind of remember what he was like when he was with the Mets because he was kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt. But he said something in that early clip that you said where it sounded like he's at peace.
Yeah.
Right? He's calm. He's got like perspective on life in the world. Maybe that has to do with some of the things that happened with the fire out in Los Angeles and anything else that may have gone on in his life that really makes you realize I'm playing a sport, man. I'm living a blessed life, making millions of dollars. He made over $100 million in his career playing a game that I was playing when I was 10 years old. So maybe he actually does have that perspective. And so when he is ultimately the odd man out, what do I expect? I expect him to be a big boy about it. And if not, he's lying to us right now. That's when I'll have the problem.
I got you.
But right now, I got to trust what he just said. That he's at peace with where he is, and he's got to see how this thing plays out.
And he would pitch out of the bullpen if told, hey, you're going to have to pitch out of the bullpen.
Yes.
So I want you to put the crystal ball on your head. On opening day, what is the Marcus Stroman situation? And I don't mind going first because I feel very strongly about it. Evan Roberts' brain has been reporting for a while that Nolan Arenado will be a New York Yankee.
Okay.
So Evan Roberts' brain is also reporting on February 14th at 2:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that Marcus Stroman's situation will end with him being a St. Louis Cardinal. So my guess is that on opening day, maybe a day before opening day, maybe a few days before opening day where we can recheck this situation, I believe he'll be on another team. And I'm being specific, he'll be a St. Louis Cardinal. Sean, do you have a guess on how this Stroman situation ends?
More than a guess. I think we know based on Brian Cashman's actions, Marcus Stroman has thrown his last pitch as a Yankee, and he will be traded.
What makes you say that?
Based on Brian Cashman's actions with two guys.
Who?
Okay, let's start number one. The last pitcher that uttered this into a microphone for the New York Yankees last July or August was Nestor Cortez, and he was shipped out this offseason. And just a week or 2 weeks ago...
Yeah, but he pitched the whole season.
He did, but he got removed from the rotation, wasn't happy about it.
Everybody gets removed from the rotation.
But said, I'm a starting pitcher. I don't think he did the right thing, just like Stroman ultimately, I think, would do the right thing.
Right. Difference is Nestor Cortez had a history as a reliever.
Yes.
By the way, how different would the Yankee history be if they didn't even pitch him out of the bullpen?
No, you're right.
No, you're right.
The second one is...
I would rather taken my chances with Marcus Stroman in that spot.
Wow, I'm going to go that far.
Why a week, 2 weeks ago?
What could it have been worse, Evan?
Tim Hill. Should have been Tim Hill.
Okay, whatever. They didn't go Tim Hill, but you're going to go with one of the starting pitchers that you pushed into a relief role. Nestor or Stroman?
No, you're right. It couldn't have been worse since the ball was hit 1,000 feet. You're right. Okay.
And the second one is why a week, 2 weeks ago was Cashman for no reason with Gleyber Torres on the Tigers re-bringing up he refused to go do something the team asked him to do, moved to third base and brought up Boone.
Preemptive defense of himself.
Okay, but all I'm saying is...
Nobody asked the question. He preemptively stated it. So don't ask me why Gleyber Torres isn't here. That's basically why he did that.
And that's fine. All I know is the last two guys to publicly come out and say they're not going to do anything are no longer here.
Well, Gleyber didn't publicly come out and say he's not going to do that. Nestor,
you're right. Cashman made a...
Nestor had no leg to stand on. He had one All-Star season, and maybe he was the the darling of the New York fan base, but what the hell did he earn?
So let me rephrase that. The last two people we know as a public and as a Yankee fan base that refused it or were publicly adamant about not doing something, Brian Cashman, within a couple months of each other, made sure they weren't Yankees anymore.
So he will be traded?
Yes.
You're not picking a specific team like me? You're just going traded?
No, because I think...
That's fine.
I put it this way. I think the Yankees, based on their own, who knows, last year we didn't know Garrett Cole was going to get hurt at this time, and, maybe you do want to need him, but ultimately I would say this. Somebody will get hurt in somebody's camp over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, that's a given.
And that will be a team that suddenly goes, maybe we could use a Marcus Stroman.
And you're right. And the question that Brian Cashman's going to have to ask himself is it worth hurting your depth? Because, you save a lot of money. It's $18 million, and you don't have to deal with a potential situation. But ultimately, like I said earlier, and I stand by it, of all the 6 starters in Major League Baseball, how many are better than Marcus Stroman?
Right.
I mean, I like Paul Blackburn, and I like Griffin Canning. I don't know if I'm putting him ahead of Marcus Stroman at this point.
You're absolutely right.
All right, so you say another team. What about you, Loogie?
Marcus Stroman will throw 150 innings for the New York Yankees this season. Fried has injury concerns. Cole has injury concerns. Rodon. Brian Cashman's smart. Marcus Stroman never gets hurt. He has value for the Yankees. Either one of their guys is going to get banged up before the season starts or during the season. Brian Cashman has no reason to trade him. He has value for this team.
How about you, Tiki?
I agree with Loogie. I agree with Tommy.
He will be a Yankee.
He will be a Yankee. And he will start probably not 30 games, but I can see him starting 18 to 20 games.
Interesting. I think the reason why, to me, he's not a Yankee, even though both of you guys are right. I mean, guys get hurt. Like, it's a good situation to have that kind of depth, is I don't think they want to pay him. Like, I think this is a money thing.
Right.
I think the Yankees would have traded him a month ago. It has nothing to do with him personally. It has to do with the fact that they have 5 starters, and it isn't economically smart, quote unquote, to pay $18 million to a swing starting pitcher.
Right.
So that's why ultimately I think he's moved. But for now, he is a starting pitcher. And he's a starting pitcher, and he's going to be built up to be a starting pitcher, and we will see how things unfold. We'll get to your calls coming up, 888-808-1019.